understand.
Deuce make a slap true.
I be doing shit these niggas wouldn't understand. Stop playing with that man. Where was niggas at when I ran through 200 bands? Stop playing with that man. Where was niggas at when they was trying to get a chair? Stop playing with that man. Where was niggas at when Walton wasn't playing fair? Yeah, stop playing with that man. Stop. Yeah, stop playing with that man. Stop it. Stop it. Nigga, stop playing with that man. Shit, nigga. Stop playing with that man. Shit, nigga. Yeah, stop playing with that man. Nigga, we ain't playing around. Karate chop, nigga, that's gon' lay him down. I got it from my sensei. A Ku Klux, so I bought me 10Ks. My shooter got me, I made sure his rent paid. A grimy nigga, but he don't wear 10K. He wears Givenchy, he don't even fit J's. A sharpshooter, you should see him switchblade. I be doing shit these niggas wouldn't understand. Stop playing with that man. Where was niggas at when I ran through 200 bands? Stop playing with that man. Where was niggas at when they was trying to get a chair? Stop playing with that man. Where was niggas at when Walton wasn't playing fair? Yeah, stop playing with that man. Stop. Yeah, stop playing with that man. Stop it. Nigga, stop playing with that man. Shit, nigga. Stop playing with that man. Shit, nigga. Yeah, stop playing with that man. Add me on Twitter, that's gonna get you in the jam. Stop playing with that man. 223 shells and knock a nigga out his frame. Stop playing with that man. Ever been indicted, I ain't see you in that jam. Yeah, stop playing with that man. Niggas acting like fans. Some shit I never understand. Is you gangster or not? That's for Instagram, you don't hang on the block. This a hunt Diddy, I don't hang with no stops. You a brand lover, bitch, you bang with the ops. You like felons, cause I came with a lot. A tough cookie put his brains in a knot. How much I pay for these chains, it's a lot. Stop talking money if you really don't got it. I be doing shit these niggas wouldn't understand. Stop playing with that man. Where was niggas at when I ran through 200 bands? Stop playing with that man. Where was niggas at when they was trying to get a chair? Stop playing with that man. Where was niggas at when Walton wasn't playing fair? Yeah, stop playing with that man. Stop. Yeah, stop playing with that man. Stop it. Nigga, stop playing with that man. Shit, nigga. Stop playing with that man. Shit, nigga. Yeah, stop playing with that man. Stop playing with that man. Nigga already know what the deal is, nigga. Yeah, I should already know by now. Don't play with him. We're not the ones to play with. What is money? Don't make us throw it up in the air and walk away. Put a price on your head on a sticky pad. Stop playing. Stop playing with that man.
Bitch. On that Draco. On that catch.
Fornax, fuck it up.
Be realistic, I don't really see no competition. Who she thinks she talking to? Like, obviously, I'm a nigga. Close that door, niggas snakes, I ain't going for it. Move right, outsmart them, stink team, most wanted. Be realistic, niggas bums, they ain't trying to ball. Ran it back and won, nigga, anytime we took a loss. Rock hard in my double cup, I keep spilling sauce. I don't know nothing, bodies dropped, he was not involved. Versatile, I could be a model or chalk the block. Or pop a lock with a dough, X marks the spot. Cut it out, if she ain't beneficial, I'ma cut her off. Bitch, give up, drop right now, made her cough it up. Cold demons, everywhere I go, we dropping icicles. Is we kidding? Broke niggas rapping science fiction. Every day a movie, it ain't hard to be the most consistent. A flu flammer, I be in and out with orange chicken. You know who really for the win, be realistic. He just wanna be my friend, be realistic. They don't really get no Uchis, be realistic. They can't do it how we do it, be realistic, man. Shit, bitch. You know who really for the win, be realistic. Shit. Yeah. They can't do it how we do it, be realistic.
You know who run the city, let's be realistic. Where the wonton soup, I'm finna tear up the kitchen. Is you the feds or the cops? Mind your business. Draco was the dime, bitch. Tell all your children. Walk back that stupid, I might men in black his memories. Tear it off quick, bitch, now. Literally. If now you gotta go to sad facts, you can't sit with me. I know I got this big Buddha piece, I need 10 of these. Things got the sauce, ingredients, and the rest. I never stop rapping till my neck look like Mr. Then again, after that, I'ma still keep shit talking. He said he was a thug, it sound good, we met a bitch out him. Best advice is be my friend, be realistic. I ain't even say a word, I walk in and feel the tension. All these niggas home dick, sometimes life calls for whipping. I'm a joint in my city, I ain't tucking in the trenches.
You know who really for the win, be realistic. He just wanna be my friend, be realistic. They don't really get no Uchis, be realistic. They can't do it how we do it, be realistic, man. Bitch, you know who really for the win, be realistic, man. Yeah, they can't do it how we do it, be realistic.
We Japanese still. You getting cooked in front of your family like a Japanese meal. It's Yashuba Hibachi, and none of you niggas can stop me. But you can't help but watch me. Look, man, we using this opportunity to educate the peeps, educate the brothers and sisters. We using Guerrilla Hebrew and Teotw Ministries to actually elucidate ancestry and give you guys a strong understanding of DNA. What is DNA? DNA is pretty much a record of your ancestry that's found in every nucleus of your cells in your body. So if anyone's making a claim to be connected to ancient peoples, then it should behoove them to take a DNA test. And I'm glad I'm able to actually use these two brothers, man. And use these two brothers, to make people more knowledgeable in this subject, because a lot of people have been using and abusing this subject. I would say Dr. Ephraim Isaac, that back in the day used to say E1B1A, E1B1A, but he would use and abuse it and not teach it properly. He would say, well, E1B1A is Isaac and E1B1B is like ham. And I'm like, that don't make any damn sense. How could they both have different mutations and don't come from the same, how could they both share a similar mutation and not come from the same ancestor? You have to make cohesive arguments, and that's the whole point. Teotw Ministry doesn't make a cohesive argument. They just say all black people that got off a slave ship are related, and we don't even know if they get off a slave ship. They most likely descend from immigrants. We're going to touch on that. FamilyTreeDna actually reveals their ancestry, and I'm going to share a video by a sister. She does an excellent video where this is how I found out about this tool. I didn't even know FamilyTreeDna had this tool, but I through this sister on YouTube, she shared this information, and her channel is called Collecting Kin. And I've shared one of her videos in a prior episode, and she has a beautiful video giving information and showing how this FamilyTreeDna tool can be used to show people their ancestral connections through haplogroups, right? So let's get right into that. And like I said, we're using these two brothers to teach and reach more people and give them a foundation in DNA, because the Afrocentric and BHI community have been the most pseudo anti-intellectual and anti-science communities. I was on a live last night on Sonetta Studios, and I heard some of the most egregious explanations of science I've heard in a long time. For some reason, Black Jesus Minister thinks that a closed system has something to do with flat Earth. Closed system just means energy is neither created nor destroyed. But we don't have enough people that's in these communities teaching science, giving it a good understanding so that people can have a grasp of the actual literature and what's being stated. So, with that being said, let's get into this video and talk about this new DNA. Well, it's probably not even a new DNA tool, but it's a DNA tool that FamilyTreeDna provides that you can type in any haplogroup clade and it will give you your ancestral connections, show you all of the burials that have that marker or downstream markers of your specific clade. Very useful tool. And we're going to use that tool to show you Gorilla Hebrew's ancestry, Ian Taylor's ancestry, and anybody. And I'll even put my ancestry in there as well. Check this out. So let's get into this video. Again, this is the sister here, collecting kin. This is the channel. I don't know why I'm not subscribed. Let me give her a subscription. Hit that notification bell. Show some love. And we're going to share her video today. And we're protected under fair use because we're doing this for education and research purposes. Put that on the screen for you guys. We are covered under the fair use. Shout out to my brother True Brew Rule. Section 107 of the Copyright Act provides a statutory framework for determining whether something is a fair use and identifies certain types of usage, such as criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. So we're doing this for scholarship and research purposes, right? All right. So I stumbled across this video by this sister, and I felt the need to actually share this with you guys.
So today I want to cover a new tool recently launched by FamilyTreeDna.com, which will give you the ability to create a report for your haplogroup. Now, if you've seen my previous videos, I've shown you in the past how to get your haplogroup for free using your raw Ancestry DNA file. So for those of you who have not tested at 23andMe or Living DNA or done a big Y DNA test or have not gotten your whole genome sequencing test, you may want to check out my previous video where I showed you how to get your haplogroup for free using your raw DNA file from Ancestry and the YSeq Clad Finder tool. You'll want to do those steps first, but feel free to continue to watch this video so you can see, once you complete those steps, how to get a report that you can share with family and friends about your haplogroup. And as I stated in past videos, basically a haplogroup is just a fancy word for an ancient ancestor who lived so long ago that their name is lost to time. So now let me show you how to get your own report based on your particular haplogroup. So for starters, you're going to go to this website, discover.familytreedna.com. Once there, you're going to type your haplogroup into the field. If you've looked up past haplogroups like I have, they may autofill for you, so you can just go ahead and pull them up again at any time. This is one that I looked up earlier, P252, which is the haplogroup that 23andMe gave my cousin who tested for my patrilineal line, and I just clicked show my report. As you can see, it recognizes that P252 is actually the same ancestor name as EU174. So this is a particular ancestor who lived around 4,800 years ago, give or take 700 years, because this isn't precise, because geneticists are not able to pinpoint the more precise time frame that this ancestor lived just yet, not until more people test, perhaps. So it also gives you, aside from just the age, it gives you roughly the time frame that that ancestor may have lived. So that ancestor lived during 2800 BCE with a 95% probability that he was born between 3500 BCE and 2100 BCE. So as you can see, there's quite a range there of over 1,000 years that that ancestor may have walked this earth. It also tells you that the EU174 is the most recent paternal ancestor for all members of this group. The report also gives you some information on the ancestor for EU174, which happens to be EZ1711, and will tell you particularly when that ancestor, EU174, may have branched off from this particular ancestor as well. So that would have happened about 5,600 years ago for these particular two haplogroups. Again, it's a give and take of about 900 years. The report also tells you that there are about 893 DNA test takers within the FamilyTreeDna database for this particular haplogroup of EU174, or who descend from EU174. And that those test takers have listed that they have origins in Ghana, Saudi Arabia, or the United States, as well as 42 other countries. And you can actually see more of a breakdown here on those countries. So from Ghana, there's about 87 test takers. From Saudi Arabia, there's about 71. From the United States, there's about 66. And there are about 42 other countries as well. So it's important to know that this is based on self-reported data. Test takers have entered on their earliest known paternal countries of origin. So many descendants of enslaved ancestors don't yet know the origins where their ancestors hail from. That's why you'll probably find a lot of them listed in the United States or in other places throughout the Americas. So aside from those details that you get, you also get a chart that shows your EZ1711 ancestor, and then the line of descent down to EU174. So it gives you roughly the time frame when each ancestor would have lived as well. If you scroll down a little bit, you have this button, Discover More, which takes you down to this section. So if you haven't already tested on FamilyTreeDna, you could then learn more about the starter test or the 111 marker test, which gives you refined matches if you do have matches. And then finally, the Big Y700 test. Even though it's called the Big Y700 test, you can actually find out more than 800 STR markers with the Big Y DNA test. So obviously that would include the starter 37 marker or that higher 111 marker as well. So along with your STR markers, you also get thousands of SNPs that are tested as well. So scrolling back up here to the top of the page, one of the things that I like about having this particular report is that you can print it into a PDF file. So you can share it with friends or with family or at your next family reunion, or you can just print off the page to PDF and attach it to that ancestor in the tree. So right here, you can see that it grabs that second page, which contains the testing information. But to get rid of that second page and just keep the first page, all you have to do is select that you want custom pages printed and tell it just to print page 1. Then you only get that first page printed. You go ahead and click save. And then you can save it into a folder for yourself. Aside from just this primary page, you also get tabs of other information, such as the country frequency, which would be a heat map of where other test takers' patrilineal origins are throughout the world. So you've got 1% of test takers self-reporting their origins are from Canada, 1% self-reporting that their origins are from the US, and then a variety of other countries. And again, it will be different for your particular haplogroup for your ancestor. But since we have multiple ancestors, you're likely to have multiple haplogroups represented throughout your ancestors. This would also be a printable page as well. However, you obviously won't get the details that you would have being able to hover over it. Another interesting tab is that you get your notable connections. So other people who you may be connected to via the same ancestor.
Amir, what video are you talking about? Amir, what video are you referring to? Because you said so. Skimmed through a bit of Gorilla's video on this test. He showed his great-great-grandfather's records and concluded that his YDNA don't have European ancestry and failing to see how this follow. Exactly. So if he did show his great-grandfather's records, that does not reflect on his YDNA. Like, just because your records say something. And I think his great-grandfather is like a mulatto or something like that. He needs to show what his DNA results exactly were. And he said it was a haplogroup R. And just logical deduction makes me believe that he's M269, which is a known Western European marker. So most likely his grandfather was a European immigrant that came over and admixed possibly with the early, slaves of, the island of Haiti. If you're referring to the same video that I think you are, but just tell me what video that you're referring to. Maybe he did something recently, but him showing the ancestral records that, they wrote down what he was classified as does not help his case. Because again, one's social, one's biology. One's dealing with your biological makeup, one's dealing with right. We dealt with that on the channel, Amir. So his great-great-grandfather was listed as black, but if you go to an earlier record, he's mulatto. But even if all we had was black, that does not change his biology. You understand? It does not change his DNA. Right. Creole. What is Creole? It's talking about a mixture of people. Yeah. All right, let's get back to this video. And we're gonna get to Gorilla Hebrew here in a minute when we use this tool that she's showing. I just wanted to share this with everyone so everyone can have an understanding on how to use this tool.
Haplogroups. So if you've seen my previous video, you might know that or be able to find out that M4895 is an ancestor of EU174. So throughout different Y-DNA projects, Desmond Tutu may have been approached to test and found out that either he or somebody along his patrilineal line fell under this particular haplogroup. So of course they can trace him back to EM4895, and anybody who carries an EU174 haplogroup also descends from that same ancestor that Desmond Tutu descends from. Now they share a ancestor roughly 9,000 years ago. So it's not like you're going to be a close cousin match to any of these notable connections that may be alive today or in more modern times. But you do share an ancient ancestor throughout history. You can scroll through and see other folks. So here is a man by the name of John Bunch, who resided in colonial America, early colonial Virginia, as a matter of fact. Much genealogy and DNA research has been done on him. So it contains a little blurb about who he is and who his possible father is, and all of the genealogy work that was done on him. And it cites the Bunch DNA project, which happens to be a DNA project that Bunch descendants could join to learn more about their Bunch ancestors, or since Bunches were part of the Melungeon community, they could join the Melungeon community project as well. Scrolling through, here is another notable connection, somebody who is alive today. You could actually follow this person on Instagram. So he did a DNA test as part of a DNA project, found out that he has an ancestor, M4895, who lived roughly 9,000 years ago. So again, a shared ancestor with anybody who has the EU174 haplogroup. Scrolling through, you can see that Nelson Mandela comes down off the EM2 haplogroup, which is roughly 16,000 years ago. Therefore, you would share that very ancient ancestor with Nelson Mandela. This one surprised me a little bit. I didn't realize that Albert Einstein had the Y-DNA haplogroup of P177. So that means that this P177 ancestor, who lived roughly 40,000 years ago, was a very ancient ancestor to Albert Einstein, and also connects descendants of EU174 to Albert Einstein from an ancestor who lived roughly 40,000 years ago. So as you see, you can scroll through.
So that's what it is. Like, we're connected to these quote unquote people, these quote unquote people with European morphology. As you can see, Albert Einstein was Jewish. He's also EM35, which is E1B1B, which our genetics point back to a common ancestor, which she keeps pointing out, EP177 through EP2. So we do share the same common ancestry, going back to the same common group of males that produce both, Albert Einstein's ancestors and my ancestors and her cousin's ancestors, because we all come from the E family.
There's the Wright brothers, who are also P177, Napoleon, Richard Warren, who came over on the Mayflower, and so on. You can also get a migration map. Now, the migration map stops at roughly EM2, which is about 16,000 years ago. So you can see some of those migration patterns along the continent. This, again, is the E haplogroup, so it shows you the migrations throughout Africa. Any of the European haplogroups will show you the migrations out of Africa and into Europe and beyond. Not only do you have notable connections, you also have ancient connections. So around the world at any given time, there are different archaeological sites where there are remains of very, very ancient ancestors, and scientists are looking to see how anybody alive in modern day may match those ancient ancestors as well. So again, because of the way Y-DNA works, you can find matches to modern day cousin matches through STR markers, but through haplogroups and SNPs and further back, you can trace your line all the way back to Y Adam. And as a result, also see how you may match other ancient people throughout the globe. So again, you can scroll through here and see there are quite a few different archaeological projects that are noted, and you can see how you match up and how many years ago that you might have shared that in common ancestor. Another thing that you will get on this new tool is a
So why that tool is pertinent is because it shows you ancient burial sites, burial sites of ancient men that lived in times past that share your paternal ancestry. So we can see where your ancient ancestors mostly were concentrated, right? So this is why it's a good tool, and this is why a lot of people that are anti-science, anti-intellectual, they don't want you dealing with DNA because none of their dogma can persist once you examine the DNA. You know, the 12 charge chart cannot be reconciled. The ideas of Teotw that every black person in America are the same cannot be reconciled because we're definitely not homogenous. If we consider the cells in our body, which have a quote unquote record of our ancestry within them, known as our sex chromosomes, Y-DNA, mtDNA.
suggestion of projects that you could join if you have tested on FamilyTreeDna on a Y-DNA test. If you haven't done so already, at least try to start with the 37 marker, which I call the starter test, and then find out where you land on the map. Of course, find out your haplogroup for free using your raw DNA, or even just carrying it over from what 23andMe has given you. Once you take a Y-DNA test, you can join different project groups such as the E1B1A, which is actually the EM2 haplogroup, which again is 16,000 years old, or you can join the African Y-DNA project as well, which is not just for the EM2 haplogroup, but also for the A haplogroups, B haplogroups, and the C haplogroups, which also hail from Africa. Many of these other projects that you see here have predominantly been created by volunteer project administrators who are organizing groups of Middle Eastern men to take the Y-DNA test to determine how they match each other. So if you are a descendant of an enslaved ancestor from anywhere in the Americas, or if you know your ties back to Africa, or if you're an African seeking to find any of your DNA cousins in America or Africa, you might want to consider one of these two groups. And I am a co-admin in both of these projects as well. So if you do happen to join that group, I would be available to answer questions that you may have surrounding next steps for your Y-DNA test. Finally, you've got a scientific tab. So if you do like the science of Y-DNA and want to learn more, you can definitely poke around on this tab and learn more about the age estimate, the variants, and even the Y-DNA tree, which is the public Y-DNA tree. So you can actually find your haplogroup. You'll be taken right to that haplogroup that you've entered and be taken over to view the flags of the test takers who have tested on Y-DNA on the FamilyTreeDna site. So let's look at a European haplogroup. I'm actually going to go back to the beginning here, type in RM269. This haplogroup is one of the most frequent haplogroups for men of European or Caucasian descent.
This is Gorilla Hebrews marker
throughout the world as well. So as you can see here, there are roughly 81,000 test takers that fall under the RM269 haplogroup. Again, you get the additional details on when that RM269 ancestor would have lived and what time frame they would have lived, again with a 95% probability. You'll get that ancestor information for RM269, so it happens to be RP297. And you'll also get to see how many test takers have identified their origins to a specific country. So over 8,000 RM269 test takers identified that their patrilineal origins come from Ireland. Over 7,000 have said that their patrilineal origins are in England. Over 5,000 have said that they're in Scotland. And then there's a variety of 128 other countries as well. So again, you get your chart with your ancestor, which is RP297, lived roughly 14,000 years ago. And then the line of descent down to RM269, which is a more modern ancestor who lived roughly 6,000 years ago. You get the same type of notable connections. So Matthew Perry, Matt LeBlanc, looks like a Friends reunion, Craig Venter, Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, James Watson, George H.W. Bush, and so on. I could keep going. Again, you get your migration map. And as I stated previously, it's going to show that migration out of Africa over into Europe and beyond. You get your ancient connections as well. So again, archaeological digs have happened and are happening at any given time throughout the present day. So as you can see, this is from an archaeological dig in Austria. This is one from Italy, another one from Italy, and so on. You also get that list of suggested projects as well. You get to see how many public Y-DNA members are in the project, how many of them belong to that particular haplogroup, and so forth. Now, because the RM269 haplogroup is the biggest, there are several projects more so than even are listed here. You can find surname projects that are specific to haplogroups as well. And what I've seen in my experience and looking at the results of many men who've tested.
Use 23andMe. 23andMe is going to be the easiest. It's going to give you YDNA and your mtDNA and your autosomal. And it's a good UI and good layout. I would go to them first. You can catch them on sale during holidays. They usually have 50% off during holidays. So what's the next holiday? Is it Labor Day? I think it is. I would try to jump on it then. Or you can use Family Tree, but 23andMe is what I always prefer.
And are positive for RM269 for that ancestor, that they do happen to have a lot of matches out of those 81,000 test takers. And sometimes, many times, that can identify a surname for you to research further, and even a group of ancestors. It can point to a group of ancestors for you to reach further. So the YDNA test is pretty powerful stuff. I've broken down some brick walls with it in my own family tree and in family trees of others. So I do highly suggest you not only do the YDNA test, but also make use of tools like this, so you can put information together to add a fuller picture to your family tree. So again, you can print stuff off to PDF and attach that to your family tree, or again, hand it out at family reunions, or share it on Facebook, or share it on social media, or send it to your cousins. There's so much you can do with it. You can take screenshots and make a collage. Those of you who are comfortable doing screenshotting and adding stuff to collages and using some of those tools, there's a lot to be done with these types of reports. And best of all, it's free. So I wanted to share that with all of you today. I think it goes really well with the past video that I showed on how to get your haplogroup for free as well. And now you can also get a report with it. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe so I can continue to bring you more content like this and share more free tools as they become available. Thanks for watching.
All right. So the sister, enlightened us, and we were able to gain access to this new tool by FamilyTreeDna. And again, this is the website you can go to access that tool. Discover.FamilyTreeDna.com. It's just going to ask you for your first and last name and email. And then you're able to search any haplogroup you want to, any subclade you want to, and it will give you all of the information on that haplogroup, who's connected to it, ancient burial sites, ancient specimens, different DNA projects for free. So discover.FamilyTreeDna.com is the name of that website you can use that for. So let me address this real quick. Amir says, I came across someone in a group who was wondering where he fit on the 12 tribes chart because his dad is from Cuba, which according to the chart makes him Manessa, but Cuban YDNA is mostly R1b. This is why I said it. But when you actually examine the chart, they're pretty much making Western Europeans the primary exemplars of what an Israelite is. And all we have to do is let's go to FamilyTreeDna again. Let's go to FamilyTreeDna and go to the FamilyTreeDna group, Cuba. So they have a Cuba group. Now, some groups you can't access because only members can see it. But this group you can actually see. It's the one dealing with Cuba. Go to the About page, see what it's about. We go straight to the chart, right? It says this area project is for people of Cuban descent. Listed above are surnames that appear in our members' family trees. If you are researching any of these names, you might be interested in joining our project to see if you have any connections within this group. You may join by contacting the group administrator, Martha Eunice at CubaDNAProject@AOL.com. If you're already a member of FTDNA.com, click on the join button that appears at the top of your personal page and proceed as directed to become a part of the Cuba group. So let's go to DNA results. And we're going to click the classic chart to see what type of Y-DNA came up for the Cuban descendants. And this is just another example on how the 12 tribes chart is pretty much bursting at the seams, because the people they have on this group are diversified. And a lot of these people on this group, a lot of people on this group are actually of European descent. So check this out. So we have one A marker here. This is Paleo African AM31, Philip Matthews. So he probably was a descendant of a slave. Then you have two CM216 markers, right? That's like East Asian, early Asian, are very, very old European. And then EM2, which is E1B1A, these are probably all descendants of slaves. EM183, EM96, EM2, some downstream markers of E1B1A, right? Then we have E1B1B here, EM35, EV12, that's E1B1B. Got a lot of E1B1B here, and this could have been mediated through Jews and Moors as well. That explains how that got there. Then you have FM89, and this guy's claiming he comes from Israel. I think we've seen this on the black belt of Alabama as well. Now we're going into the more strictly European stuff by origin. So GM201, some downstream markers of G. Shout out to the Teotw twins. You were involved in some of these Cuban families. A lot of haplogroup I. Look at that. Bunch of haplogroup I. A lot of it's coming from Spain, some of it from France, Spain, Portugal, Spain. And you got 3 samples that trace back and tap back into German ancestry. We got some J markers. This also could have been mediated by Jews here, right? Italy, Spain, Cuba, Italy. Got some from Yemen, Spain, a bunch of Spain, a lot of Spain here, and Portugal, which makes sense because, again, the Iberian Peninsula has a lot of influence in the Caribbean, man, and in South America and Central America, right? So that makes a lot of sense historically. Got OM175, OP31. These both are probably from Asian people. QM3. Now, if you know anything about QM3, it's a Pan-American marker. So if you take the DNA test, you come back to QM3, your forefathers are actually ancient Americans, Paleo Indians. Here we go with the R. Look at all this R. Spain, Portugal, Cuba, Spain, Mexico, Spain. So a lot of these R markers, again, most of these are going to be descendants of M269. Look at that. Cuba, Spain, Portugal, Spain, Cuba, Germany, Cuba, Belarus, Portugal, RM269. Look at that. Spain, Cuba, Spain, Scotland, Spain, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Spain. Most of this stuff is mediated through Spaniards, right? Through the Iberian Peninsula, just as history tells us. Because remember, at the onset, Spain was given the New World, and Portugal pretty much was given Africa, right? At the onset, in the beginning. They divided the 2 territories that way. So look at that, more R markers, a bunch of R markers. So you're going to have a large percentage of R markers. Look at that. Large percent of R markers. Then we got some T markers. Shout out to my brother, How Music. He actually is a descendant of a T. So again, all of these lineages represent different male lines. So how are you saying Cuba is is the Manassites, son of Ephraim, if they don't even share the same male line? They would all have to share the same male line, and they don't. There's several different male lines here. That's what each letter represents. Different male lines. Ancient, very, very, very ancient male lines. So that's from the Cuba Project. All right. What y'all talking about in the chat, man? Yeah. They definitely got some North African admixture in there as well. Yeah, Jewish and Moorish are just, North African migrants did come over here. We can prove that. You funny. You funny. All right, so let's go to the Family Tree DNA website. Let's go to the tool the sister was sharing with us, discover.familytreedna.com, right? So I already have it on M269, but I can just go to search another haplogroup, right? So we'll deal with Teotw Ministries haplogroup, right? Which is G2a L91. And we dealt with this in a prior show. The L91 is European in origin, right? That's where it gets its start. So YDNA information you will get access to. Discover your connections to famous historical and modern people. Are you more closely related to Einstein or Abraham Lincoln, Babe Ruth or J.R.R. Tolkien, Nelson Mandela or Jesse James, Ramesses III or Copernicus? Find out with the notable connections report and discover. So we can see who we closely relate to as far as ancient men or famous people, right? Country frequency, discover where your direct paternal haplogroup is most commonly found today based on the self-reported information from hundreds of thousands of YDNA testers and participants in academic studies. All right, so it says haplogroup story. When did your ancestors branch off and where are their descendants found today? Get an estimated time of when your haplogroup was born. Discover when did your paternal ancestor live and where are his descendants found today. Discover more DNA tests confirm descendants and their specified direct paternal origins. So again, when we're dealing with YDNA, we're dealing with direct paternal ancestry. It says what else you can discover: ancient connections, see who your closest archaeological relatives are, migration map, view your ancient ancestors' migration history all the way from Y Adam. Suggested projects, join groups of people connected to your lineage. And we just saw a project, the Cuban project, and that's mainly people of Cuban ancestry coming together and sharing their DNA. So we typed in their clade, which is G2a L91, which is G2a4, formerly known as G2a4. And this is a major European branch or early European branch. This is where it originated from, right? So we're going to show my report. All right, so it says your YDNA haplogroup report for GL91. The Y chromosome is passed from father to son, remaining mostly unaltered across generations. This is why we can use this for paternal ancestry, right? A lot of these people are anti-science, anti-intellectual. They don't want to recognize it because they know it goes directly against their doctrines and they don't want to change their doctrines. Therefore, they want to reject this. But if you get a Y chromosome, you get it from your father, you get a copy from your father, he got it from his father, he got it from his father, all the way back to the first person that had that mutation. It says, except for small traceable changes in DNA, by tracking these changes, we constructed a family tree of mankind where all male lineages trace back to a single common ancestor who lived hundreds of thousands of years ago. This human tree allows us to explore lineages through time and place and to uncover the modern history of your direct paternal surname line and the ancient history of our shared ancestors. The GL91 story. Haplogroup GL9 represents a man who estimated to have been born around 12,000 years ago, plus or minus 2,000 years. That corresponds to about 10,000 BCE with a 95% probability he was born between 12,000 and 8,232 BCE. GL91's paternal line was formed when it branched off from GFGC 2263 and the rest of mankind about 12,000 years ago, plus or minus 2,100 years ago. He is the most recent common ancestor, at least two lineages known as G, these two lineages here. There are 197 DNA tests confirmed descendants, and they have specified that their direct paternal origins are from Italy. Germany, United Kingdom, and 32 other countries. So again, this marker is tying the tail twins back to Europeans, right? He said, so he can't say nigga no more. No, we just giving his paternal ancestry. That's all. You know, if you want to play the social construct game, you can play that. But social constructs are not indicative of ancestry, right? Just because you call yourself black does not mean you are sharing common male ancestry with every other person that identifies as such, right? It says as more people test, the history of genetic lineage might be further refined. But so you can see that this marker is associated with Italy, Germany, United Kingdom, and the people that tested it comes from 32 other countries. All right, then it advertises the big Y. So now we're going to look at the country frequency for GL91. As you can see, Europe pops up, less than 1% there, and in Spain and France. It gets a little darker in Italy. They're over here in Iran. They're over here in Turkey. Some are even in Saudi Arabia. And then you see some in Northwest Africa here in Morocco, Algeria. You see a lot here in America, right here in Venezuela. And then you have some over here in Ecuador. You have some, 1% of participants in Brazil. And of course, in the Americas, right? Less than 1%. So this is their markers, right? It says based on self-reported earliest known direct paternal countries of origin from participants. All right, so let's go to notable connections. The notable connections for the tail twins marker is, and again, let me read it. Notable haplogroup connections are based on direct DNA testing or deduced from testing of relatives and should be considered as fun facts. The Amanov family. They share common ancestry with the Amanov family that lived around 1400 CE in a common area. It says UGL91, which that's most likely tails because they said they were G2A4. It says in the Amanov family, GZ37375 share a common paternal line ancestor, GL1259, who lived around 16,000 BCE or 18,000 years ago. The Amanov family is a Sweden-Finnish noble family of Russian origin, originally from the Veliki Novgorod. The family hails from the clan Racha. The family has split into three branches, Russian, Finnish, and Swedish. However, the Russian branch died out in the 18th century. Prominent members include Karl Amanov, Marianne Amanov, Swedish film actress, and Stein Gregor Amanov, ambassador of Sweden in New Zealand and Western Samoa. The detailed haplogroup of the Amanov family was discovered through the Big Y testing of family members in the Swedish Nobility DNA project. So they have royalty in their DNA. What Kendrick Lamar say? I got loyalty, I got royalty in my DNA. So they do trace back or share common ancestry paternally with these the Amanov family that also had G markers as well. Let's see what else they're connected to. The Gamma Olof. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. It says you and Gamma Olof GZ30728 share a common paternal line ancestor, GL1259, who lived around 16,000 years ago. Johannes Barres was a Swedish scientist in the fields of antiquity and linguistics and was a teacher of the King Gustavus Adolphus of Sweden. He became Sweden's first national antiquarian and first head of the National Library. He was also the first to document runes and has been called the father of Swedish grammar. So they're connected to this guy that's the father of Swedish grammar, man. Shout out to the Swedes. Shout out to Haplogroup G, man. It says Johannes was also a genealogist and researched the Bear kinship from northern Sweden, from which he descended on his maternal grandmother's side. He documented the family tree in the progenitor who was known as Gamal Olof, Old Olof, from Borea, born in the late 14th century. This research has allowed many Swedes to trace their ancestry back to the Berry family in the medieval times. And here's a portrait of this guy that these guys share paternal ancestry with. According to them, they would call this guy Esau for some reason, even though they share paternal ancestry with them. It makes no damn sense. Johannes Barus, however you say that. Anyway, it says genetic genealogist Peter Scholin and other researchers in the Bear DNA project have identified the haplogroup that connects the patrilineal bear kinship in Sweden. More than 25 male lineages from the progenitor have been verified with DNA. Many fictitious legends and genealogical connections have also been disproved. And they give the source for this. Coats and Arms of the Bear Noble Family, number 126 by Peter Scholin. I don't know how to say that right there, but as y'all can see, it's on the screen. Hey, try to get that Swedish bank connect. Hey, man, they connect back to, a royal family and the Swedes. They share paternal ancestry. That's what's up. Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. And of course, we brought this out before. Richard III of England, they share common ancestry with him as well because he's also a G marker. Teotw twins, we're going to use that for GL91, and Richard III of England, GL89, share a common paternal line ancestor who lived around 23,000 BCE or 25,000 years ago. Richard III was King of England and the Lord of Ireland for only 2 years, from 1483 until he died in 1485. He came to the throne under a cloud of suspicion. His brother's minor son, Edward, was preparing to be crowned king when Edward's brother's marriage was posthumously declared bigamous, and his offspring through that marriage were no longer eligible to ascend to the throne. His two sons became the infamous princes in the Tower, imprisoned in the Tower of London and never seen again. It was rumored that Richard ordered their murders. Richard isn't most famous for what occurred during his life, but due to the circumstances surrounding his death, burial, and subsequent exhumation, Richard died in battle near Leicestershire and was buried unceremoniously, apparently in the Greyfriars Priory. And here's a painting of King Richard III that, the G twins share common paternal ancestry with. It says, portrait of Richard III of England, painted circa 1520. In 2012, a skeleton was excavated in a car park where the Greyfriars Abbey was previously located. Terry King from the University of Leicester DNA tested the remains and concluded that the evidence for the remains being those of Richard III was overwhelming, thereby solving the mystery of where Richard was actually buried and what happened to his remains. Richard's mtDNA haplogroup was J1C2C3 in a perfect match with present-day matrilineal relatives. His Y-DNA haplogroup was, however, inconsistent with present-day patrilineal relatives and shows that there is at least one false paternity event in their family tree of either Richard III or present-day DNA tested related relatives. What does that mean? What does that mean by false paternity? Meaning somebody in that line does not actually descend from Richard III because they have different Y chromosomes, right? Because he has G and those others probably have like RI or something. Let me keep reading. It says, Richard III was the last king of the House of York and the last of the Plantagenet dynasty. And then it gives a source right here. Identification of the remains of King Richard III by Terry King et al. So they share this rich royal ancestry, man. We already covered the Amanoff family, the Gamma Olof family, and then the Richard III of England. And of course, everyone's going to get Albert Perry because Albert Perry has a very, very, very old A00 marker that's supposed to tie back to Y chromosomal atom. So let's look at the migration map for GL91. So this is their migration map, and as you can see, all of most of their burials are where? In the continent of Europe. Look at that. That's majority of the ancestral connections they have through ancient DNA. And as you can see, you can follow these arrows. So each color, like Y atom, they have Y atoms starting somewhere in Western Central Africa. Then the A, then BT right here somewhere in Sudan, and then CT in Ethiopia, and then that becomes CF somewhere in Ethiopia, East Africa, and then F right here, the green arrow branches off somewhere in the coast of Saudi Arabia. And you notice when you look at a lot of these ancient migration maps, they always take the coastal route. And that's because hunter-gatherers would rely on what? Fish. They rely on a lot of fishing. So they would go on the coastal route rather than the inland route, because this is before farming, that type of subsistence. So they would have to rely on, fishing and stuff of that nature. So they'll go the coastal route, and then they'll finally make their way into Europe. So you have GHIJK somewhere in Iran. That's where they're putting it here. And then G somewhere north of Iraq, most likely in the Caucasus. And then they're making their way into Europe, as you can see here, and spreading out and dispersing. This is why we have a lot of these burials here. You got one in Ukraine. You got one here. What is this at? Russian Federation, it says. What is this one at? Turkey, Anatolia, right? Beirut, Lebanon, 150 BC to 0 CE. You have them here with the Greece. In the island of the country of Greece and Crete. We see that they were there. You see them here in ancient Italy, 1600 to 1500 BCE. You see G markers there. So we've shown this before. There's a lot of G markers in early Europe. Look at that, 2900 to 2300 BCE. They're found in Spain, Macedonia, and in Greece. So according to the biblical narrative, these people would be the sons of Japhet, right? If you're in Greece, they associate you with the sons of Javan. Obviously not Semitic people, right? Look at this, ancient Greece, Macedonia, Croatia. Let's see what else they got here. Italy, Otzi the Iceman. We all know about Otzi the Iceman, right? Switzerland, early Switzerland, 4500, 4400 BCE. Very old, ancient stuff. Look, France, they got, paternal ancestors in France. None of this stuff is going to sub-Saharan Africa, right? They keep talking about Africa this, Africa that. But look at their ancestry. Poland, Germany. Yes, it is. It is that this map is based off out of Africa. That's why Adams starts in Africa. Yes. Yep. The coastal route has more resources for survival. The interior route is more riskier. Correct. So as you can see, anybody can use this. Again, discover.familytreedna.com. You can sign up for free and actually type in any clade, and you can study the clade, see if you can find any ancient burial sites with those markers or whatnot. Is there a way I can make this bigger? Let me see if I can make this bigger. Thought it was bigger earlier, but I guess not. But anyway. So right click, nope. As you can see, they're plastered all over Europe, Germany, Poland, Hungary, Romania, Serbia, Macedonia, Croatia, Italy, Crete. They have ancestry all over here. Then look, your ancestral haplogroup GP15, and it's circled in red. That's the tail twins, man. That's their ancestry. Okay. Yeah, you can consider yourself black all you want, but again, that's a social construct. Like that doesn't tell you about your deep ancestry. That's just a category, pretty much a category. So, well, I know that I consider myself all the fights I had as a black man, except for maybe one or two. There was no racial animosity, just life, good vibes. Okay. I don't know what you're talking about. finessing the line. Yeah, somebody was thoughting, man. Somebody was definitely thoughting, and King Richard's claiming to be King Richard's son, but one of the women was thoughting. The tail twins. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they have to embrace their European paternal ancestry, and we don't even know their maternal ancestry, which may be non-African as well. We don't really know because they haven't released it. All right, so all human lineage is being traced back to the single common ancestor in Africa who lived around 230,000 years ago, nicknamed Y Adam. Here we show the estimated migration route from Y Adam to your ancestral haplogroup GP15, estimated to 18,000 years ago, and its descendants found in ancient DNA from archaeological remains. So this is what we're looking at, archaeological remains. And most of these people that they connect to point into Europe. They got some outliers here, right? So you have someone in Kazakhstan, right, back in the Common Era. Kyrgyzstan, and then Tajikistan. So a bunch of stands, right? All in the Common Era. This one's more, this is earlier, 950 to 550 BCE in Pakistan. Then they have some, paternal ancestors in the Russian Federation, 900 to 1100 CE. Right, so they'll like to point, like they brought this out. There's one in Lebanon, yeah, very recently, 150 BC to 0 CE. There's another one I think like in 500 BC, which is the Iron Age 3 period, right? So from here, from the migrations map, let's go to ancient connections. And then ancient connections, here are some ancient relatives from your direct paternal line based on DNA testing of archaeological remains from around the world. And then you can see right here what the date was, estimated to live around 65 to 6200 BCE. So it's about 8,000 years ago, right? And they share a common ancestor 12,000 years ago. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's a Barson 1099 was an infant boy who lived between 6500 and 6200 BCE during the Middle Neolithic Age, was found in a region known as Derikoy, Turkey. He was associated with the Neolithic Anatolia ceramic culture group. His direct maternal line belonged to mtDNA haplogroup T2b. They give you the paper that it came from. Here, Madison et al. See, that's what's good about this. You can actually click a lot of these and learn a lot about this, right? So this is the same, I guess it's a similar one, but it has a different maternal line here. K1B1B. Barson 5083. Same one in Turkey. Let's see if we can find somewhere. Oh, Bulgaria, right here. You have one right here. Yabalkovo 2 was a man who lived between 6,000 and 5,900 BCE during the Middle Neolithic Age and was found in a region known as Yabalkovo, Bulgaria. He was associated with the Varna Neolithic culture. His direct maternal line belonged to mtDNA haplogroup H, and we know that's a very European marker there on the maternal side. So there's another G marker found in Bulgaria. Where this one at? This is actually ancient Italy. Look how old this stuff is, man. You got old European relatives. Look at that. 5,600 to 5485 BC. Still an early Neolithic New Stone Age, right? Found in a region known as Thrasacco, Italy. He was associated with the Rome Neolithic cultural group, right? And that's the maternal here, and that's the paper that they're getting it from. All right, so we're not going to go through all these, but you can see very ancient connections in Greece, Croatia. I see the Iceman, of course. Hungary. I mean, you guys are very much so. The Beaker Cultural Group in Germany, very much so European. I mean, there's no way around this. Lebanon, that's the one we were talking about earlier, 543-30 BC during the Levant Iron Age, and was found in a region known as Beirut, Lebanon. He was associated with the Archaemenid cultural group. His direct maternal line belonged to MT haplogroup W6. Swat Valley in Pakistan, Serbia, Spain, Serbia again, and then the last one being Serbia. Very, very ancient connections to Europe. He said back then all of that was considered Africa. I could make up a map to prove it. Ah, man. Yeah, they don't want to release their maternal DNA, which makes us believe that it's actually European as well. And we'll do a video on that. All right, so suggested projects. You have the GPF 3147 project, the G uncategorized en route project, which 21 belong to their branch, 63 belong to their branch in that one, 8 belong to GL91 in the Klein family. The Gideons project, 5 belong to their branch. The Maghreb project, which is Northwest Africa, right? Arabia, you got 4 belonging to their clade. Moroccan DNA project, 4 belonging to their clade. The Ray family surname project, you have 4 belonging to their clade there in the Klein family. All right. And then scientific details just explains the confident intervals and how they came up with the dates. And the Discover More tab is going to take you to the big Y and the different Y tests that they have, right? All right, from there, so we're done dealing with Teotw's ancestry via this tool here. Again, discover.familytree.com, and you can type in any clade you want to learn, right? All right, so with that, yeah, that's crazy right there, man. That's crazy what they're trying to claim on tigers. Siberian tiger brew. All right, so from there, we're going to click search another haplogroup. Let's deal with our brother Gorilla Hebrew's haplogroup now. RM269. Show my report. The RM269 story. And again, what is a Y chromosome? The Y chromosomes pass from father to son, remaining mostly unaltered across generations, except for small, traceable changes in DNA. By tracking these changes, we constructed a family tree of mankind where all male lineages trace back to a single common ancestor who lived hundreds of thousands of years ago. This human tree allows us to explore lineages through time and place and to uncover the modern history of the direct paternal surname line and the ancient history of our shared ancestors. RM269 story. Haplogroup R-M269 represents a man who estimated to have been born around 6,000 years ago, plus or minus 800 years. That corresponds to about 3,900 BC, with a 95% probability he was born between 4,738 and 3,184 BC. RM269's paternal line was formed when it branched out from RP297 and the rest of mankind about 14,000 years ago, plus or minus 2,300 years. Here's the most recent common ancestor of at least 2 lineages known as RL23 and RPF7562. There are 82,607 DNA tests confirmed descendants, and they have specified that their direct paternal origins are from Ireland. I hope Gorilla Hebrew and Sakari Camp is listening. Ireland, England, Scotland, and 136 other countries. As more people test, the history of this genetic lineage might be further refined. As you can see, Ireland, 8,341 testers, England, 7,411 testers, and Scotland, 5,267 testers. All have M269, right? Now, let's go to country frequency to see where we see this. Look at this. Look at this. Light up the map. Why don't you? Look at that. All over the world. I guess this is what they were talking about when they said Israel will be scattered to the 4 corners of the earth. I guess this is what it was talking about, man. Because look, they pretty much got the whole globe on lock. right? They're in the Americas, of course. They're heavily concentrated in Europe. They're in Africa. They're in Saudi Arabia. They're in Russia. They're in China. They're in Asia. They're in Australia. He said he's a whole colonizer. So if they want to reconcile the 12 tribes chart, they got like, listen, man, all these people got one thing in common. It's that M269 marker. And as you can see, M269 is scattered to the four corners of the earth. So they fit the prophecy. Remember, everything's about prophecy with them. So they fit the prophecy. Look, they are pretty much everywhere on the planet. North America is one corner, South America is the second corner, Australia is the third corner, and Europe's the fourth corner. That's all four corners, man. So boom, 12 tribes chart vindicated right there on the spot. Oh man, that right here. Here's your 12 tribes chart. All right. As you can see, let's look. Look, 0 to 100%. Look at this. 57% of participants with self-reported direct paternal ancestry from the United States belong to RM269. That makes sense. They came over, dominated, and pretty much overpopulated, right? 53% of Canada's participants with self-reported direct paternal ancestry from Canada belong to RM269. Same thing with Alaska. 57% of their participants have it. Central America is about 22%. Honduras is about 40%. Cuba is about 56% of the participants. That direct paternal ancestry goes back to RM269. You can't tell me. Look, the lion's share of males that's on the 12 tribes chart go back to RM269. It is the common denominator on the 12 tribes chart. So majority of those people are Europeans, so therefore majority of the Europeans are Israelites, according to them. We're going to follow their logic. 35% of participants in Brazil, RM269, Guyana, 43%. 32% Venezuela, 33% Colombia, 19% of Peru, 60% of Ecuador, 5% of Bolivia, Chile, 32%, Argentina, 38%. Come on, man. Come on, man. Paraguay, 33%. What we got here? Cuba, 56%. Haiti, 70% of Haiti. Damn. Shout out to Grla Hebrew. 70% of participants in Haiti belong to RM269. 28% of DR is M269. 38% of Puerto Rico is M269. The Bahamas is 18%. Hey, they got a way to zoom in on this thing. Australia is 44%. What's this in Africa? What's this over here? Mozambique, 100% of the participants of Mozambique below the RM269, 17%. Wow. Then you have them scattered out here in North Africa. Very low percentages in North Africa. Mauritania, less than 1% in Ghana, 1% in Guyana. France, 57%. Spain is 45%. UK is 58%. Ireland is 77%. Godly. Germany, 35%. Czech Republic, 25%. And they get Russia, 5%. China, 1%. They're everywhere, man. They're everywhere. And that's a large majority, man. So the Levites are definitely RM269, according to them. That's the priestly line right there, according to the 12 tribes chart. According to the 12 tribes chart, 70% of Haitians are M269. Therefore, they are the sons of Cohen, right? They are the sons of Aaron. They are the Haitian priest. Vanilla Hebrew. Vanilla ice, baby. Vanilla ice, baby. Oh man, y'all funny. Y'all funny. Vanilla Hebrew. All right, so that was the 12 tribes chart chart map. Again, it said this is where your direct paternal haplogroup is most commonly found today based on self-reported information from hundreds of thousands of Y-DNA testers and participants in academic studies. They got the whole map, man. They got the whole world. In his genes, he's got the whole world. In his genes, he's got the whole world. In his genes. All right, from there, let's go to the next tab. Notable connections. Notable connections right here. So, of course, everybody's going to get Matthew Perry. Well, not Matthew Perry, Albert Perry, which he has here. This is Matthew Perry. Look at all these notable connections he had, man. M269 the Globe, bruh. All right, so Matthew Perry says you share a common paternal line ancestor, M269, who lived around 3900 BCE, 6,000 years ago. Matthew Perry is an award-winning American-Canadian actor, comedian, and producer who was best known for his portrayal of the character Chandler Bing on the hit TV series Friends. So you can read the rest of this. But anyway, he shares that relative. Matt LeBlanc. He shares a common ancestor with Matt LeBlanc. Matthew Stephen LeBlanc is a Canadian-American actor, producer, and comedian born in Massachusetts. He is of Italian and French-Canadian origin. So he shares that as well. Born around 1967. Craig Venter. John Craig Venter, a leading biochemist, is an American businessman and entrepreneur, listed among the Time magazine's 100 most influential people in the world. Venter is the best known for funding the Human Genome Project, where he shared credit for sequencing the human genome. You guys should know about Dr. John Craig Venter. Bro, you are related to the person that did the Genome Project, man. And he also proved that all of us don't have humans, bacteria, and plant life don't share a direct common ancestry, as they were teaching for decades. He actually brought that out. So Dr. Craig Venter is one of your relatives, through the M269 variant. You share a common ancestry. Guess who else you share common? You share common ancestry with all these DNA titans. You share a common ancestor with Francis Crick. Francis Crick was known for discovering the DNA, the double helix. He is known for that. And you're trying to go against your ancestors' works, man. You're trying to go against your paternal ancestors' works. Stop it. What Michael Jordan said, get some help. So Francis Crick was born in the small village of Weston Favell near the English town of Northampton. At an early age, Francis was captivated by science and devoured books on a variety of topics, learned glass blowing from an uncle, and performed experiments that helped set the stage for his later work. Crick studied at University College London, earning a Bachelor of Science. He began his PhD work at UCL, but World War II interrupted his effort. Francis later became a PhD student and honorary fellow of Gonville in Caius College and did most of his work at the Cavendish Lab in Cambridge. Crick described his first PhD research project on measuring the viscosity of water at high temperatures as the dullest problem imaginable. Francis Crick, James Watson, Rosalind Franklin, and Maurice Wilkins were key in deciphering the helical structure of the DNA molecule. And there's the picture of the depiction of DNA. It says here, their published works in 1953 laid the groundwork for understanding DNA and its functions. Watson and Crick were jointly awarded the 1962 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. And you know what's funny about this? These people are so against DNA, right? But these guys directly, relate with Francis Crick, man. They share paternal ancestry with Francis Crick, the person who discovered DNA, right? And laid the groundwork for understanding DNA's functions, okay? And there's a picture of Watson and Crick. Crick on the left, Watson on the right. White, pasty European males. which our brother Grla Hebrew shares common paternal ancestry with. Says during the latter part of his brilliant career, Francis Crick held the post of J.W. Clark-Hafer Distinguished Research Professor at the Salk Institute of Biological Studies in La Jolla, California. His later research centered on the attempts to advance the study of human consciousness. He remained at this point until his death. He was editing a manuscript on his deathbed as scientist until the bitter end, shared one fellow researcher. All right, that's Francis Crick. Stop fighting against your paternal ancestors' work, man. It is what it is, brother. So you got Dr. Craig mentoring and Francis Crick, man. You related to some great men in the field of science. Bob McLaurin was a long-time clan genealogist for the Clan McLaurin Societies of both North America and Scotland, one of the early genetic genealogists. So you got a genetic genealogist here that you're related to paternally. Neil Armstrong, we all know who Neil Armstrong was. Neil Armstrong was a U.S. astronaut and the first person to walk on the moon on July 20, 1969 at the age of 39. Leading up to this monumental moment in history, Armstrong began plotting at the early age of 16 and became a naval air cadet in 1947. In 1950, Armstrong interrupted his studies in aerospace engineering at Purdue University to serve in the Korean War, and as a result, he was awarded 3 air medals. So you're related to Neil Armstrong as well. Buzz Aldrin Jr., another astronaut. James Dewey Watson is an American molecular biologist, geneticist, and zoologist. So you got another geneticist that you're related to here. He is famous for discovering the double helix. Oh, yeah, this is Watson, Watson and Crick. He is famous for discovering the double helix structure of DNA together with Rosalind Franklin, Francis Crick, and Maurice Wilkins. In 2007, James Watson became the second person to publish his fully sequenced genome online. Let's see. George H.W. Bush. So you got some Republican in your family too. Go ahead and vote red. Vanilla Greek Hebrew. Francis Crick, we already did that one. Thor Heyerdahl was a Norwegian adventurer and ethnographer with a background in zoology, botany, and geography. These are probably all the fields that, Sakari disagrees with, right? Heyerdahl is renowned for his 1947 Kon-Tiki expedition when he sailed 8,000 kilometers across the Pacific Ocean from South America to the Tuamotu Islands in a handmade raft. Interesting. There's him right there. He died in 2002. Ernest Hemingway, this American journalist who heavily influenced modern fiction. That may explain the 12 Tribes chart. Babe Ruth, we all know who Babe Ruth is, famous baseball player. All right. So you're related to him as well paternally. You share paternal ancestry. Cordell Hull, known as the father of the United Nations, was a politician from Tennessee who was both a senator and congressman and was the longest serving Secretary of State, serving under President Roosevelt. Cordell Hull. Oh, you actually have Russian history. Nicholas II Romanov shares a common paternal ancestor. See what it says here. The last emperor of Russia, king of Congress of Poland, and the Grand Duke of, and it doesn't say the, oh, wait, I got to go down. Grand Duke of Finland, Nicholas II Nikolai Romanov, reigned November the 1st, 1894 until his abdication on March 15, 1970. He is known as Saint Nicholas the Passion Bearer in the Russian Orthodox Church. Okay, Jesse James was a notorious American outlaw of English descent who became famous for leading daring bank robberies and train heists. Thomas Edison, we all know what Thomas Edison is famous for. Charles Darwin, he's also shares paternal ancestry with him, African, European, American. You guys are crazy. Charles Darwin, we know what he's known for, the Darwinian evolution. Abraham Lincoln, the person who freed the slaves. It's also M269. Joseph Smith, Y'all know he's about the Mormon belief, and everybody will get links to Albert Perry, right? We already discussed that. Now let's look at the migration map. And then you can follow the colors to see what you're talking about. So Y Adam, they're saying start in Central Africa, and you eventually get to F, which leaves Ethiopia and goes into Saudi Arabia via the coastal route, right? Going into Iran, you see K, Haplogroup K, making its way through India, and then splitting off into P, which is this purple line here. And then P becomes R, and also Q, but this is not a Q map. And as you can see, it goes through Mongolia, Kazakhstan, and it makes its way into Europe. And that red circle is RM269. Look at all these burial sites with RM269. You see it in Denmark. You see it in Poland. You see it in ancient Germany. You see it all over. You see it in Norway. You see it here in Scotland, ancient England, France. It's very much so European, and I don't know why these guys want to ignore this, but it is what it is. Italy, all in the Iberia, all up in Italy, all in the peninsula region. Hungary, right, in the common area. So many I can't even click them all, right? What's this over here? Iceland, right? Common area Iceland, common area Greenland. You have some in the common area Norway, Russian Confederation, 2900 BCE. That's probably Yamnaya, right? Your ancestral haplogroup, Sakari, is right here. Vanilla Hebrew, y'all crazy with this vanilla Hebrew stuff. And this one over here, the United States, we covered this before. 1600 to 1700 CE, RM222. And this was actually found in a slave burial. And they explained to you how it got to that slave burial, because it's probably the descendant of a slave master that gave that slave R1B. All right, you can see all of the. This is why this tool is good, because you can see all of the ancient burial sites. Right? Boom, boom, boom. Turkey. Oh, this is Lebanon. Sidon around the Common Era. Early Iran around 950 BCE, and northern Zagros. All right, so from there, let's go to our ancient. Wait, hold on, let me read this again for you guys. All human lineage is going to be traced back to the single common ancestor in Africa who lived around 230,000 years ago, nicknamed Y Adam. Here we show the estimated migration route from Y Adam to your ancestral haplogroup RM269, estimated 6,000 years ago, and its descendants found in ancient DNA from archaeological remains. Let's go to ancient connections. Here are some ancient relatives from your direct paternal line based on DNA testing of archaeological remains from around the world. So we've pretty much seen most of this. Look, Samara Valley 38. Samara Valley 38 was a man who lived between 3,339 and 2,916 BCE during the Central Asia Bronze Age, and was found in the region known as Lopatino Russian Federation. He was associated with the Yamnaya cultural group, right? There's another Samara Valley, all coming from most likely Yamnaya. Another Yamnaya from Kurgan, Russian Federation, Samara Valley. So all of these are going to be Russian, right? Mother Russia, you got one from Italy for 3,500 to 2,200 BCE. Copper Age, Italy, Samara Valley. Yamnaya. So most of your stuff is going to go back to your Yamnaya cultural group. Another Russian. Look at this. You have ancient ties to Russia. Russia, France, ancient ties to France. Ancient ties to the Beaker culture in the Netherlands. France again, and then what is this? Germany. So you're very much so European. And then after that, it's suggested projects. These community projects might be relevant for your YDNA haplogroup based on participant results. Project administrators can often provide additional interpretation of your results. And as you can see, R1B, all subclades, RL21, Ireland YDNA, Scottish DNA, 4,000 belong to the Ireland and 3,660 belong to the Scottish one. As you can see, those are his suggested haplogroups. All right, so with that, I'll do one more before I conclude today's show. I'll do my own. Let's see. The vanilla of Hebrew. Y'all killing me with that, man. All right, so check this out. Let's do my marker. Oh, you're using all these other people's markers. Why not your own? I'm already on it, man. Aye, Captain. EU290 is my marker. Show my report. All right, so they estimate 4,000 years ago is my common ancestry. That corresponds about 2000 BCE with a 95% probability he was born between 2642 and 1400 BCE. EU290's paternal line was formed when it branched off from ECTS 2504 and the rest of mankind about 4,100 years ago, plus or minus 650 years. Then it goes into that. Then it gives you the different countries. There are 366 DNA tests confirmed descendants. They have specified that their direct paternal origins are from Ghana, United States, Saudi Arabia, and 21 other countries. As you guys can see. Country frequency. Let's see where my marker is. Oh, I can't be an Israelite because it doesn't light up the whole globe, right? Because to be an Israelite, you have to be scattered across the four corners, right? So, R is the Israelite. I'm not, right? All right. So anyway, you can see the dark marker here. 12% of participants in Ghana have my clade. You can see it in Nigeria. Oh, what's this? I'm pretty much Western Central African, right? That's what my marker's associated with. But when you look at Teotw's markers all over the place in Europe, it's all up here. And you look at what's your GL91, when you look at RM269, which is a Grla Hebrew's marker, it's all over Europe. It's not mainly concentrated in Western Central Africa. But for some reason, they're claiming that they're Western Central African, and they're not. Anyway, as you can see, my marker is there. Mainly there. You can see it here in Sudan, about 1% in Egypt, 1% in Morocco, even in Turkey, right? And even up here in England, United Kingdom. United States, less than 1%, 1%. You got to remember, E1B1A period is like 8% of United States. We only make about 8% of males in the United States. Jamaica, about 7%. Look at that. Brazil, we're about 1%. EU290, my particular clade. South Africa, 1%. Angola, 2%. So that's my map, right? It says this is where your direct paternal haplogroup is most commonly found today based on self-reported information from hundreds of thousands of Y-DNA testers and participants in academic studies. Notable connections. So I have a few notable connections here. And it's just going to reinforce what we've been teaching, right? Desmond Tutu and Anglican bishop and theologian Archbishop Desmond Tutu was known for his anti-apartheid and human rights work in South Africa. This is Desmond Tutu. John Bunch. John Bunch was a black man born about 630 in the early colonial Virginia. Was of age and free in 1652 and 1659. He appeared in court notes of York County in reference to a 1652 debt where it stated that John had suffered the loss of his crop the year following. It's possible that John Bunch was never enslaved but was born as John Punch, 1612 to 1683, an African man who was originally indentured in York County, Virginia, near the Mattapony River, where John Bunch originally appeared in court records. After running away in 1640 with two white men, John Punch was captured and sentenced, and the third man, being a Negro man named John Punch, shall serve his said masters of his assigned for the time of his natural life here or elsewhere. This verdict makes John Punch the first man in the colonies enslaved for life, as opposed to an indentured servant who only served for a specific number of years in exchange for transportation to the colonies. John Punch's reported son purchased 450 acres in 1662 on both sides of the Rickahawk Path and obtained land patent in 1663 in what became Blyson Parish. 1704, Bunch was taxed on 100 acres in New Kent County, which was likely the remains of his father's land. John Bunch's mother and wife are both unknown, but it's likely that both women were white. Children were born into the status of their mother, so John Bunch would have been free if his mother was white. John's children were able to marry white neighbors, which implies his wife was a white as well. His descendants include President Barack Obama through his mother's line, the Melungeon Bunch families of Lee County, Virginia, and Hawkins, Calamorn, and Hancock County of Tennessee, and Dr. Ralph Bunch, a civil rights activist and the first African Americans to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. So, boom, John Bunch, the Bunch family. Effie Bass, pretty much a musician. Nelson Mandela, we all know Nelson Mandela. Albert Einstein, one of the smartest men to ever live. We share common ancestry with him because he's E1B1B and I'm E1B1A. We go back to the EP2 family. The Wright brothers, discovering flight, share common ancestry with them. They're also descendants of E1B1B. Giuseppe is E1B1B as well. He's part of a failed insurrection, which resulted in him being exiled to France. Napoleon as well, share common ancestry with bro Napoleon. And of course, he has European morphology because ancient E markers, most likely from Africa, went into Europe thousands and thousands of years ago. All right, so Napoleon, Richard Warren, also E1B1B, says he was one of the most successful Mayflower colonists, if success is measured by his large number of descendants. He was married in Great Amwell, Hertfordshire in 1610. Richard sailed from Leiden, launching from an exact spot on the canal with the separatists in 1620, leaving his wife and 5 daughters behind, waiting to send for them until he saw what the New World held. The voyage of what would become Massachusetts was miserable. One of the 2 ships proved to be unseaworthy, so the 100-foot Mayflower carried 102 passengers plus 30 to 40 crew members in extremely cramped conditions. Leaving late the fall and buffeted by storms, the Mayflower's caulking came loose, results in passengers, their belongings, and supplies becoming chronically wet. Many passengers, especially women and children, died on the trip. And during the first winter, Richard Warren survived, but it's a good thing he left his family behind. William Bradford said Warren, who died in 1628, Mr. Richard Warren lived some 4 or 5 years, had his wife come over to him, by whom he had 2 sons before he died, and one of them married and had 2 children. So his increase is 4, but he had 5 daughters. More came over with his wife, who are all married and living and having many children. Warren's descendants include 2 U.S. presidents, author Ernest Hemingway, and astronaut Alan Shepard. Richard Warren, E1B1B. Of course, Ramesses III, we know about him, E1B1A. Also, I share connections with Emperor Higashiyama, which is a Japanese, right? We already studied this, told you guys this before. E and D share common ancestral ties. So we share common ancestral ties with many of the Japanese, especially the Ainu people. It says here, according to Japanese traditional order of succession, Emperor Higashiyama was the 113th emperor of Japan. His reign lasted from 1687 to his abdication in 1709, which corresponds with the Genroku era. His haplogroup was inferred from DNA test results of self-reported descendants of Japanese imperial royalty in the Samurai DNA Project. So that's pretty cool. And then, of course, everyone's going to get Albert Perry, right? Migration map. And, of course, It's primarily focused in Western Central Africa, right? Going from Adam, and they have us turning around and doing a U-turn in Ethiopia, going back to Nigeria and Western Central Africa. So they don't associate us with Italy, Germany, France, Spain, United Kingdom, Ukraine, and everything surrounding that area. We're not really in Europe like some of our brothers are, like Sakari and who you guys have dubbed Vanilla Hebrew. You guys are hilarious. And the G twins, right? That have a lot of that ancient ancestry in Europe, but a lot of my ancient ancestry is focused in West Central Africa. And you see right here in the Common Era, you find E1B1A in Sub-Saharan Africa. See that? Botswana. And here, Mexico, you find it 1500, 1600 CE. And you find it over here as well in the Caribbean via the slave trade. So let's go to ancient connections. Here are some ancient relatives from your direct paternal line based on DNA testing of archaeological remains from around the world. The Kendoki. And again, this is Common Era, right? In the historical age was found in a region known as Kendoki, Congo. We found E1B1A there. San Jose, that's what we saw in Mexico, most likely maybe a slave. See, early African-American cultural group. Deloraine, Kenya, around 772 and 957 CE during the Iron Age of Kenya. Again, the same thing with the Mexican, St. Martin, Afro-Caribbean. You see it there, historical age. And this is Botswana, South Africa. Of course, we have the Mota man in Ethiopia, ancient Ethiopia, around 25 to 2400 BCE. He had E1B1A2, actually. And then the Tafarat. These are your Ibero-Maurutians. They're E1B1B. They're found in ancient North Africa. All of the Tafarat findings here. Natufians, E1B1B. Ancient Israel are the Natufians. Most of them are E1B1B, as you can see. All right. Then it has suggested projects: the EM2 project, the E1B1 project, the Tarek project. 32 belong to my clade in the E1B1 project. 45 belong to my clade in the E1B1A project. And 2 actually have my clade in the Tarek project. 36 in the Arab tribes, EV38, Middle Eastern, 16 of my 16 of my relatives are there, 16 of my relatives in Al Arid, the Al Arab, 12, Arab tribes, 11, 10 in the Yemen project, in the Arabs World DNA, 9, in the Arabian Gulf, I got 9 markers, that 9 ancestors in that one as well. And that's it. That's my clade, man. That's my clade. Anyway, does anybody want to discuss any of this information? I will open the chat now. If not, we can end it. There you go. We can discuss this live. What happened in the chat? I think somebody... I will not say any of this in person. I won't tell you that you're of a European descent in person. Why wouldn't I say that in person? Oh, you're going to put hands on me because I told you you're of European ancestry? That sounds very weak. And then he says here, I think it's really weird that he keeps making a video about another man. Okay, so you're against people that make videos about other people, right? All right, so let's go to Sakari's channel and see what he talks about all the damn time. Watch this. I'm going to show you guys the hypocrites. We'll say any goddamn thing. All we're doing is elucidating ancestry. You understand? So if I go to YouTube and I go to Sakari's page, I bet not find him talking about other people, right? Or discussing another person's answer or anything. I don't want to. Coming from the people that go around calling white people Edomites all the damn time. He said, "Aren't you a ex Green Beret or Delta Force?" Keep in mind what he says. Watch this. Boom. I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna go to Sakari's page. Click it. I'm gonna go to his videos. Let's see if he's talking about. Look, he's got Tahar up here, right? He's got Adam 22 calls him an agent of chaos and stirring up a race war. Oh, he's talking about other people. Wait a minute, I thought you were against that. Let's see what else. The truth about WAC 100. That's him talking about other people, probably gossiping either. Probably gossiping too. Creflo Dollars. Talking about
Nah, bro, they heathens. They heathens. You can talk about them. They heathens.
Yeah, you can talk about them all day, huh?
Well, what the hell is he? What the hell is he? Hey, real quick, I don't want to stay. I ain't mean to disturb the teaching. You're doing a great job tonight, bro. Handling it solo. I can't join right now to rock with you, but you're doing an excellent job, bro. Keep putting it down.
Right. Hey, man, this dude crazy as hell, man. Let's see what else he made a video on. Charleston White. He talking about Charleston White. All these people in media that have a buzz around their name is on his video. Tracy Morgan. Let me see what else he talking about. The mass shooting in Old Block. Oh, why are you talking about other people, man? What's going on?
Tracy Morgan might be more Israel than he is.
Exactly. What was the issue?
Charleston White too.
The issue you guys have is that your pastor, your preacher, has been discovered to be a damn European, and your doctrine, a central focus of your doctrine, is to condemn Europeans and call them Edomites. That's the issue. That's why you don't want me talking about it, all right? And no one's worried about you internet personas. You're not going to do anything. You're just upset because your guy's ancestry is on blast and everyone can see it, right? You guys are racist. And not only you guys are racist, you guys share common ancestry with the people you're racist against. It's that simple.
God. All right, bro, I'm out. I just wanted to holler at you real quick, man. Great job tonight. Shalom.
All right, brother. Shalom. Yeah, we use him as a great teaching moment. Let me see. Anybody want to join, discuss this? We can. I got a special outro for that brother, man. Shout out to Gorilla Hebrew. He said, I wouldn't want to run up on your shoe. That's a big brother, Chris. I don't think your shoes even play the radio. What? Yeah, I met him in person back in Dallas. I met him before. I met him with his whole squad. It was just me by myself. Someone's asked a question. Let me get to that. Facts. We don't care about his ancestry. Doesn't matter to us. It matters to them. That's why they're upset. The Low Avenue says, do any of the scholars here think EM2 were the descendants of Abraham, children outside of Isaac or Evers? Other descendants. I don't understand what the question is, but I would say it's likely. We always go by likely. If it's likely or not, probabilities. We think it's likely. Dude would crumble. Hit the link, Christopher. Christopher is not going to hit the link. All right, so if I am that Christopher, then here I'll give you a way out. Bye bye. I don't understand you guys. You watch my channel. Thanks for the views. Bye bye. Chrissy, Jim Jones, Chrissy. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anything. I was trying to cover all that information while on the channel. I see you in the back, new BME. Give me a minute. Let's see. Hey, y'all forget that commenting on this channel is a privilege. It's not a right. And I will take that privilege away from you. Now all you can do is watch and add to my viewership. Let's see. He will be when they were horny goats. What? Vanilla Gorilla. What's going on, new B and me?
Yes, greetings, brethren. I just actually was calling to get some clarification. I had jumped in when you were talking about Haiti and 70% in Levitical. So I'm not really too familiar with the terminology, but could you explain that? You were saying that the Levitical or Haitians are, because your sister's from Haiti, great grandma's from Ethiopia, so we're always trying to bring it together, So could you explain that one, the Haiti?
Oh, I was being sarcastic because
oh
the brother Gorilla Hebrew, Sakari, a lot of Israelites will tell you that Haitians are Levites. And I'll say, well, if that's the case, then 70% of the Haitians have that European marker. So are they Levites as well? That's all I was pointing out. I was poking fun at the 12 tribes chart. Are you familiar with the 12 tribes chart?
Yeah, I am familiar, and I'm really glad that more information came out about it instead of it being so like, cookie cutter. You're from this, you're from that, you're from there. Because human migration is what human migration. But as you had mentioned, I could see where the 70% came in due to like the enslavement and the raping, and that being one of the first ports, in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. So yeah, we could see that. Nevertheless, is there some DNA? Is there more DNA to point to Haitians being closer to the West African, Igbo, or East African tribes? Is there any more DNA that's significant to that? Or you're saying that most of our Haitian descendants are 70% European descendants? Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Well, most of the people that took the test, the FamilyTreeDna test.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So most of the people that are Haitian background that took that test, 70% of them were Western European.
Okay.
But there's a large African presence there. So no one's denying that.
Okay. I was like, what? That would make sense. 70%, especially this diaspora, 70% who could probably afford it on the island, or 70% who just want to make sure they got that, the, like you would say, the vanilla Hebrew, claim. You know what I'm saying? But no, I big up my Haitians. We have like many islands. We all got some color and social, spiritual, and political issues. But give thanks for all the information. Give thanks to everyone, because this is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to come. Let's reason together. Let's build this up. We don't all have the right answers, but we got some parts of the puzzle where we can see the pieces. I do have to say that I'm very intrigued with a lot of the research and the fact that all the brothers and sisters is making the iron sharpen iron. So we're getting closer. And, I'm looking forward to us getting closer to that Ethiopian connection as well, and how that is very important to all of us. So I look forward to having that reasoning.
Indeed. Let me see what else is going on in the comments before I get out of here. I was trying to see if I can get somebody else on here that maybe oppose the information. I want to see why they oppose it.
And
So was there anything else you wanted to bring out about
please
today's
cite
video?
the source. Cite the source.
Yeah, most definitely. A lot of these brothers don't cite their sources. All right, so anybody else want to join? Yeah, Ethiopia. Yeah, that's true.
And that has a lot to do with the Ark and a lot of the history that we haven't dealt into. Now, I'm not talking about the modern Orthodox Ethiopian church. That ones have to understand the modern Orthodox church 1970 is not what it was pre. And I'm not even talking about the Teotw church, which is completely separate also from the Orthodox church. Tewahedo, pardon my pronunciation. The Tewahedo church is very different from the Orthodox church. So yeah, definitely with and I'm here.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up, sister. Yeah, I think we lost the sister. But she's been viewing the channel for a long time, so shout out to the sister coming on. All right, anybody got any more questions about today's show? FamilyTreeDna app, the evidence that these brothers stem back to Europe, and they don't share common ancestry with West and Central Africans at all. Guess not. Swinging and banging from Atlantic Canaan. What's going on, James?
Hey, shalom, my shalom, man. I want to say another great show. I know we see the haters in the crowd, but they just mad because a lot of the doctrine is getting exposed. Again, this ain't about pointing out a certain person and trying to demean that person or anything like that. It's about highlighting how some of these doctrines are dangerous to the community. And when we really look deeper into our ancestry, we find out a lot of people that are perpetuating a lot of these counterproductive racist doctrines turn out to be descendants of Europeans themselves. So we're trying to highlight that fact in order to kill some of the counterproductive doctrines within our community so we can focus on more of the productive ones.
Yeah, big facts, big facts. I always ask them, what does any of that stuff, what does going out in the streets, yelling at white people, condemning them, getting into fights with them, spitting on them, have to do with the reconstruction of quote unquote Black Americans? Well, how does that produce anything? How does that give us anything good? What does that do for our illiteracy rates? What does that do for our broken family, our broken familial structure? What does that do for it? What about our hiring rates?
Feel good in the moment type deal, and then you go back to your reality after that's done and feeling bad about your real life. No, focus on your real life. Get that in order. Don't the scriptures say to get your house in order? You shouldn't be out here preaching, telling the whole world what they need to do when you ain't got your own house in order. You ain't your own self-sufficient man. I mean, I've seen some of the most dangerous doctrines to the community, such as have a baby with this woman and then tell her to go make the state the daddy. And then I'll just come around and eat knickknacks and snacks, get about 5 of y'all, and take y'all extra money y'all get for the kids and go spend it the way I want to. That's some of the most destructive doctrine possible when the scriptures say a man should be able to provide for his own household, not tell the damn government to do it for you.
Right. And once you let the government be the head of your household, they have autonomy. They have autonomy over your household. So it's like, do you want to have autonomy of your own household, or you want the government to do it? That's the question.
The government, because it's easier. You can sit on your ass if the government do it, but the problem is when the government do it, there's always something they slide in the back door. Like the fact that
Mm-hmm.
you can't be in the house. Like black people could be in the house, but white people could have 2-parent households in the government system. So I mean that tells you something. So why are you gonna keep perpetuating the madness that got your people in the position that is in right now, instead of being the change when you're supposed to be breaking bonds? You're supposed to be taking these strongholds away, but now you're teaching the people how to mingle and snake their way through the strongholds.
Right. Shakir said, did Vanilla Hebrew share his paternal haplogroup? All he said he was R. So we're deducing from that information, from him having a Haitian background, that it's mostly RM269. It's a logical deduction.
Most logical deduction. We don't know anything about Haiti having B88 all through it.
Yep. Amir said that it doesn't build up the community, nor progresses, nor prepare them to survive with changing dynamics of society and economy. Yeah, going out there yelling at white people, telling them prepare slaughter for their children, and they going into slavery, and that don't help one bit of any of those categories, politically, education-wise, or job-wise. It doesn't help none of those things. It's social justice warriors. That's all they are. Social justice warriors. And social justice warriors, all they do is go out there and fight non-causes and make people feel good. They tickle their ears. You know? So that's all that is. A lot of these guys are leftists, and we're trying to steer our people away from that.